Greetings and good morning. I'm Alton Davis, and I'm going to speak a little bit about a well known founding lady of our country and what we know of her legacy. Elizabeth Griscom Ross, also known by her second and third married names Ashburn and Claypool, was born on her family farm in New Jersey on January 1st, 1752. Ross grew up in a household where the plain dress and strict discipline of the Quakers dominated their everyday lifestyle. In her youth, Betsy learned to sew from her great aunt, Elizabeth Griscom. Betsy attended a state run school and further enhanced her skills excuse me, as an apprentice to an upholsterer named William Webster. Now, as the story goes, in 1870, Betsy's grandson submitted writings about how the Ross family story depicted General Washington, Commander in Chief of the Continental Army, and two members of the Congressional Committee by the name of Robert Morris and George Ross had visited Miss Ross in 1776. During this visit, Miss Ross convinced George Washington to change the shape of the stars in a sketch of a flag that he showed her from a six-pointed star to a five-pointed star, and Miss Ross demonstrated that it was much easier and faster to cut a five-pointed star by simply folding the material. That gave birth to the first Betsy Ross flag. However, there is no archival evidence or other recorded verbal tradition to substantiate this story of the first American flag. However, we do know that she worked in an upholstery business, repairing uniforms and making tents, blankets, and stuffed paper tube cartridges with musket balls in 1779 for the Continental Army. And we know Betsy was one of several flag makers in Philadelphia for the Continental Army. So research was conducted by the National Museum of American History of the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C. Notes that the story of Betsy Ross making the first American flag for General George Washington entered into an American consciousness about the time of the 1876 centennial celebrations. With the centennial exposition then scheduled to be held in Philadelphia. So in 1870, Ross's grandson, William Canby, presented a research paper to the Historical Society of Pennsylvania. In this paper, he claimed that his grandmother had made with her hands the first flag of the United States. Canby said he first obtained his information from his aunt Clarissa Sidney Claypool in 1857, 20 years after Ross's death. Canby dates the historic episode is based on Washington's journey, or states the episode was based on Washington's journey to Philadelphia in the late spring of 1776. This was a year before the Second Continental Congress passed the First Flag Act of June 14, 1777. In 2008, a book called The Star-Spangled Banner, The Making of an American Icon, the Smithsonian Institute experts point out Canby's recounting of the event appealed to patriotic Americans that were then eager for stories about the Revolution and its heroes and heroines. Now, Betsy Ross was promoted as a patriotic role model for young girls and a symbol of women's contributions to American history. American historian Laurel Thatcher Ulrich further explored this line of inquiry in a 2007 article, How Betsy Ross Became Famous, Oral Tradition, Nationalism, and the Invention of History. We're unable to determine exactly what or how the flag story came about and how much actually played into it, with us knowing that there were other individuals that were involved in making flags in them days. But what we do know is Ross is an American hero and well should be. What we know of her childhood and how she survived an epidemic of smallpox that took much of her family when she was young. We know she finished school and became a seamstress, and we know she believed in the American cause even after the death of her husband during the Revolution. Betsy's story is a story of inspiration to all people, men and women alike. Thank you.